Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, in the last class we looked at identifying sources of information and analyzing them. We move on to the next important stage, that is reading. Once you have identified different sources, you begin reading them. In the next couple of classes, we will look at different aspects of reading in academic contexts. What is then reading comprehension? Does reading only mean reading out aloud? Reading comprehension, as has been noted by several researchers, is a result of several psycholinguistic processes happening at the same time. So, what exactly happens when you read a text? When a reader approaches a text, the first level of processing is at linguistic level. In the sense, a reader goes through the words printed, processing includes retrieving information about the word pronunciation, its morphology, in the sense how it has where it has been derived from, and information about prefixes and suffixes if any, then information about details about grammar, meaning, word meaning, all these things. This is what we call processing at the linguistic level. The reader decodes graphic symbols, recognizes words, and begins parsing from word level to individual sentence level. So, once this level is completed, then the second level is called semantic analysis, where the reader combines word and sentence meanings to form propositions and to construct and reconstruct the meaning of a text. The idea here is that if you just know the meaning of a word or just a meaning of a sentence, that is not enough. You need to understand any given text as a whole. So, this is what we call forming propositions. The reader here first builds a microstructure, words and co-reference, connecting sentences, establishing links across sentences, establishing links across paragraphs, and then organizes microstructures into macrostructures, that is global topics and interrelationships. So, let us take an example. You are say reading something about Olympic Games. The first two paragraphs talk about how Olympics game began, and then the next two paragraphs talk about the history of Olympics since the beginning till date, and then the final paragraph talks about the most recent Olympics game. So, at the microstructure, you understand the meaning of individual paragraphs, and then you go to the macrostructure, where you establish links across paragraphs and understand the text. The final stage is constructing a situation model where the reader syncs the given information with the previous knowledge and with the goal of the reading. So, going back to our example, say you have read this particular article about Olympic Games. You have also read several other articles, say about very important achievers in Olympic Games. Now, you link information you have obtained from reading different sources. So, this is we call the situation model. As a reader, you link what you have got now from reading a text with your previous knowledge, and you try to sync it with the goal of your reading. Say for example, you have been reading for some competitive exams. You need to write an essay about Olympic Games. So, you connect what you read with the goal of your reading. So, this is very briefly about the process of reading comprehension. We move on now. What are the different goals of reading usually? Grabe 2009 observes that the following are the usual goals of reading. Reading for quick understanding, it is also called as skimming. Reading for specific information, scanning and skimming. Then reading for detailed understanding, reading for critiquing, evaluating and justifying. Pleasure. For our purposes, we are going to look at only the first four, namely reading for quick understanding, reading for specific information, reading for detailed understanding and then reading for critiquing. In this class, let us start with the first two important aspects of reading, that is reading for quick understanding and then reading for specific information. So, coming to reading for quick understanding, what does this mean? In which context we resort to this kind of strategy? So, here the goal is determine what a text is about and decide whether to spend more time on it or just throw it. So, in case of a difficult or a longish kind of text, skimming helps us to have a sense of the text and where it will lead us and what other things we may need to understand it. We also work through many texts to decide which text to focus on, because we may have multiple texts on a single topic, but because of time constraints or our other kinds of constraints, we may not be able to read all of them. So, you have to make a choice. So, to make a choice, first we skim through these things and then decide. Then you may also be under intense pressure to complete reading in short span of time. So, you will not have time for detailed reading. So, then we use skimming. So, as mentioned, the aim at this stage is not to understand the text in detail, not to understand the text completely, but simply to understand the main idea or the gist. So, your aim here would be to understand how many sections a particular book or an article has and which of them I need to read more carefully and which I can just skip. So, you can check the contents pages to see how many sections there are. You can also check headings, subheadings, and then there are also sometimes images, graphs, diagrams, tables, and then summaries. Usually if it is a research article, you will find an abstract, or the conclusion section also summarizes the main findings of that particular study. So, when your aim is to just get a gist of the text, you better focus on these sections. This will save a lot of time and help us get a quick understanding of the text. So, before reading any text in detail, we skim through the materials very quickly, simply to get a general impression. And one important strategy which we can all use is looking at important words. So, what are these important words? Usually these important words are what we call content words, namely nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. So, we can ignore articles, prepositions or auxiliaries, because you are only looking for some key important words to get an overall understanding of the text. Now, let us look at an example. This is a page taken from the book The Science of Reading, a handbook edited by Margaret J. Snolling and Charles Hume. We will look at the contents page of this book. So, this is how usually a contents page looks like. In this case, you can see that there are multiple parts. The book has been divided into multiple parts. So, for example, part 1 is word recognition processes in reading, part 2 learning to read and spell, part 3 reading comprehension, part 4 reading in different languages, part 5 disorders of reading and spelling, part 6 the biological basis of reading, part 7 teaching reading. Let us imagine you are a teacher and you are looking for some information on how to teach reading. So, you find this book and you now have to decide whether to go through this book or not. So, now by looking at the contents page, you do not need to go into the contents in detail, just look at the contents page here and you find that part 7 mentions teaching reading, and then you go further and then you will see that 2 articles are about teaching reading. So, then you may now want to have a look at this book in detail. So, you have decided on the basis of just very quickly skimming through the contents page that this book is going to serve my purpose. So, this is how we skim through a contents page. We move on. So, as mentioned earlier, when you skim, the idea is you read a text and you understand its main idea, you try to get its gist. Let us now try an exercise. Here is a short paragraph about an incident. Let us read it and decide what is the main idea here. Remember, you need to read as quickly as possible. So, let us go. A Korean Airbus with 199 passengers crashed 4.8 kilometers away from Tripoli airport in Libya today and burst into flames, killing at least 100 people. The official Libyan news agency Jana said that the plane fell on two houses, killing 4 persons in one of them. Jana reported that 80 to 100 people, including the captain, survived the crash. The crash occurred at 7 a.m. local time, 25 minutes before the expected time of landing. So, now that we have gone through this short paragraph, what is the main idea here? It is of course reporting a crash. So, the questions are where, when, and what is the aftermath, what is the effect of that crash. So, the details are, this is a Korean Airbus, it had 199 passengers. So, what crashed? This is the thing. Then casualties about 100 people. Where this happened? It happened in Libya, close to Tripoli airport. At what time? 7 a.m. local time. So, these are the details, main details you would want to understand from this short paragraph. You might also have seen exercises where you provide a title to a text. Now that you have understood the main idea, let us try to suggest a title to this short paragraph from the options given. So, here are the options: 100 feared killed in plane crash, plane crashes before landing, tragedy near Tripoli, captain survives plane crash, plane falls on houses, Airbus in flames. Now, the question is, which of these best captures the main ideas, the main points of the paragraph? What about the last one, Airbus in flames? This obviously is too general. This does not say which kind of Airbus, where it happened, and what was the effect. What about point number 4, captain survives plane crash? Yes, but is that a very important point to be focused on in this paragraph? If it were a military plane and there were only one pilot, then this kind of thing would be an appropriate title. But here we are talking about a passenger airplane. So, the question is, what happened to people on board? What about point 3, tragedy near Tripoli? Yes, this accident happened near Tripoli, but if you just say tragedy, does it say it was an airplane crash? No. So, here is again an issue. Plane falls on houses. This again does not tell about other details. So, let us now look at the two remaining options, 1 and 2. If you have to select the most appropriate from these two, which one would it be? So, plane crashes before landing, yes, but does it mention anything about casualties? Note here that when an accident is reported, the casualties, that is what we focus on. So, given these options, one would be the most appropriate, but I must say here that this again does not cover all the main details we have just discussed, like where, what time and other things. We move on. There is another paragraph. This is slightly more complex and this is from a journal. Let us look at it in detail. It is true that certain papers indulge in untruthful and sensational stories about scientific men and scientific discoveries, but there are others that do not. To classify these two kinds of newspapers together betrays a lack of careful observation or a wrong use of the logical faculty, perhaps both. Such a proceeding is hardly worthy of a man who pretends to a strictly scientific method in his ordinary work. You will immediately here notice that the nature of this text is very different. The first one which we saw, I am going back to this. This just reports an event. So, you will find factual details. The progress is linear and it is comparatively easier to process and understand. In contrast, this has an argument. This text contains viewpoints of the author about a particular issue. So, what is the main idea here? What is the main argument here? Let us look at the options. All newspapers carry sensational stories and hence we should discard them. This is option 1. Option 2, most newspapers carry sensational stories and we should avoid such newspapers. Option 3, while some newspapers carry sensational and false stories, there are some which do not. So, we should not treat all newspapers in the same way. So, which of these things do you think best summarizes the main argument of this text? So, now let us go back to it and find out what the main argument is. The key word in the first sentence is certain papers indulge in untruthful and sensational stories. So, this keyword certain very clearly tells you to rule out option 1, which is a sweeping statement and which includes the word all. So, this is not the main idea here. Okay. Then the question is, what about 2? Most newspapers carry sensational stories and we should avoid. Is that what the text is saying? The text here mentions that you will find here that there is some information that about some papers indulging in untruthful and sensational stories, but does the text stop here? There is something else. You will see that the writer here then talks about a different category of newspapers. You will see in line 3 and 4 the keyword but there are others that do not. Okay. And continuing here, to classify these two kinds of newspapers together betrays a lack of careful observation. So, the writer here is comparing two kinds of newspapers and is arguing that we should not treat both of them alike. So, when you are skimming through a text, in this way we look at keywords and try to get the overall meaning, the overall essence, the main argument of the given text. Now, when you are skimming, we need to distinguish between main information and subsidiary or the additional details. So, we delete most details and examples, anecdotes, examples and other things. So, for example, here we looked at keywords and we did not take into consideration other details mentioned in this text. Now, let us try some more. Okay. Here is an extract from a report, and then let us try to see what exactly it means. I am reading this out. Human carnivore conflict is perceived as one of the most negative interactions in wildlife and humans, owing to the direct loss of human life associated with the presence of carnivore. You will see here that sentence is quite long, language is too formal and many technical words. So, you skim through it, and if you delete all the unnecessary details, the essence you can capture something like this: wild animals killing humans is a serious issue. So, remember, when you are skimming, your idea, your goal is to just get the main idea. You will worry about the supporting details when you read something for detailed understanding, that we will see later on. So, at this stage, this suffices. Let us look at one more example. This is from again the same report. Let us read it. Looking at increased individual and group raiding on the crops, it is essential to put a control on the reproductive rate of these individuals to avoid long-term conflict. So, here again sentence is quite long, many details are here, technical words. So, you get the main idea, and that can be something like this: since the herbivores damage crops, we need to control their population. So, in this way, I am going back to this slide. We delete details, examples, anecdotes and other additional details, and we get to the main idea. Now, let us do another task. Here are some keywords taken from a paragraph. So, by looking at these keywords, can you guess what the original text is about? The keywords are second class, passenger, crowd, difficult, push, book, no room, ticket, train. Recall here what we said just a few minutes back. We focus on important words, and most often these important words are content words. Here you can see that most of these words are content words, nouns, verbs or adjectives. So, by looking at this list, can we say something now about the original text? So, here are options. Let us look at these options. So, the original text, is it about the pleasures of travelling, the booking of tickets, the problems of second class passengers, or crowds in trains? Now, let us come back to the first one. Is it about the pleasures of travelling? So, let us go back to our list. Do you anywhere here find pleasure? We do not find. Travelling? Yes, there is a mentioning of train and passenger. So, travelling is there, but the keywords, the list of keywords does not include this word, the pleasures. Now, the second one, the booking of tickets. Let us go back. So, book, it is here, ticket, yes, it is here. So, both these words, booking and tickets, they are there. But then when you go back, you will see that there are other keywords also. So, it is a clue that this is not just about booking of tickets. Crowds in trains, the last option. Yes, you will find the word crowd, you also find the word train, but again here the same problem. What about other keywords? So, most likely this text is about this topic, the problems of second class passengers, and in particular about booking tickets. So, we skim through a text, we look at important words also called as keywords, and we get the overall understanding of the text. Recall here that we delete unnecessary details, examples, diagrams and other subsidiary information. We do not bother about those things at this level. We only understand the main idea. The next aspect is reading for specific information, also known as scanning and skimming. What happens when you just skim through something? Recall here that when you skim through something, you just have some material before you and you want to find out what is in it and then decide whether to spend more time on it or not. Or you have a longish piece of text, you just want to go through the entire length of it and get the main idea. When you are reading for specific information, as the name itself reveals, the goal here is to look for some specific details. So, you will run your eye quickly over the text to locate specific words, phrases of interest to you. So, we scan headings, subheadings, images, diagrams, the body text for authors' names, contents page, index and many other such things, looking for some specific words. For example, let us imagine I am reading a research article on processes of reading. A research article usually, as we have discussed in one of the previous classes, has an introduction session, then review of research, current research methodology, details about the current research, discussion of the findings and the conclusion. So, you are let us say interested only in the current research, what the researcher did. So, you will go looking for a specific subheading which tells you about the information you are looking for. Here the current research. Similarly, you are say going through report of a company. You want to find out how the company did in this financial year compared to the previous one. You will look for some specific diagrams which indicate the growth of the company. So, we are here looking for specific information, and hence we focus our attention towards only specific sections of the text we have. Once you have zeroed in on the particular section of a text, you would want to read it. Sometimes you just want to skim through it just to get an idea, just to get a quick understanding. So, therefore, the processes of scanning and skimming, they go hand in hand. For example, imagine you have read in a book about James Watt and the invention of steam engine. Now, you need the year of invention for your examination. You will first recall in which chapter you read about James Watt, then you will go to that particular page, particular chapter, then you will try to locate the keywords. The keywords here would be steam engine and some numerical information like year or any other kind of detail. Then once you zero in on the keywords, once you locate the keywords in the text, you will read that particular section because you are looking for some specific information. Here you are looking for the year of invention. So, this is how the process of what we call scanning and skimming works. We use this strategy in everyday life as well. We come across several flyers, pamphlets, brochures, then classified ads, also train, aeroplane schedules, then directories among various other things. In all these cases, we would be looking for some specific information, and hence we won't go through these things from line 1 to the last line. Let us now look at an example. As you can see, this is a section taken from a newspaper and it is called classifieds. The name classifieds itself tells you that the information here is classified, categorized following some rationale. As you can see here, different ads here are categorized under different headings and subheadings. For example, additional income, then you have advertising, business opportunities, business services, career training and so on. Let us imagine you are looking for some options for making some additional income. So, you would be looking only at this heading, so additional income, and then you will go through the ads listed here. So, you are not worried about other sections mentioned here. Your keyword here is additional income, and then you will skim through the ads given to find out which one works the best for you. Similarly, if you are looking for a house to rent, you will look at the section for rent, and then you will go through those, and again you will use your keywords. Say for example, I am looking for a 2 BHK house. So, then you within those ads you will be looking at these, trying to locate the keyword 2 BHK and zero in on only those specific ads. This helps you save a lot of time, precisely because you need to look for only what you need. You do not need to worry about other details here, because you are not reading for detailed understanding. I mentioned earlier that you can also use an index page in a book to locate specific information you are looking for. Let us see how this works. This is a sample index page which I have taken from the book mentioned earlier, Science of Reading, a Handbook. Usually, books have index pages at the end. Some books have two kinds of index pages. One is called subject index, as you can see here. Sometimes you also see author index. So, what do you find in these index pages? Coming to subject index, as the name itself says, here the topics discussed in the book are listed alphabetically, and the page numbers in which they appear, they are given in front of these topics. Say for example, the first one here is acculturation. So, this is a keyword. Say you are researching on this particular topic. So, you find that this topic has been discussed in this particular book. Recall here this is a 400-500 page book, and it is very difficult to go looking for this specific word page by page. So, if you go to index page, this tells you that this particular topic has been discussed or has appeared on page number 538. So, now you will go straight to 538, and there you will skim through the page to find out again, to locate the word acculturation. You will also see that some suggestions are also given. For example, under acculturation, it says see also second languages. That section is not here, but when you go to the entry second languages, there again some numbers, page numbers are mentioned, and when you go to those specific pages, you find more information. You will see that against some topics multiple numbers are mentioned. For example, phonological deep 32, 33, 415, 418, 422 to 424, 425, 426 and so on. When you see hyphenated page number, it means this is a continuation. It means, for example, here is 32 and runs also across 33. So, in this way you can use a subject index page to find the specific information you are looking for. I mentioned author index. In an author index, what happens is, people who have been mentioned in the book are listed again alphabetically, usually the second name first. So, say for example, you are looking for some information about Sigmund Freud. So, you go to author index, you find if the word is there. So, in a book you find that you do not find the name Sigmund Freud, then it means nowhere he has been referred to or he has been cited. If the name appears, and again just as in author index, you will see some page numbers listed. So, you need to go only to those specific pages to find information. So, to sum up, an index works just like your dictionary. So, entries are listed alphabetically. So, you need to go only to that specific page and then you will get the details. Now, we will look at two tasks, one each on scanning and skimming, and then we will discuss these things in detail. First one, a scanning task. So, you have a flyer in hand and you want to now find out more about some particular program to attend. So, when you have a flyer, usually what kinds of details we look for? Say you have a brochure or a pamphlet about an institute. So, we usually want to know the name, then where it is located, then what is so special about it or how to reach it and so on. In this case, this particular flyer is about a drama, about a play. So, what is it? So, usually these are the details you would want to find out before deciding whether to go there or not. So, details like name of the play, venue of the play, dates, time, then some information about the lead actor or actors, then director, the company which is staging it, how do you and at what rates you buy tickets. Then apart from the play, are there any other attraction? So, these are the details usually you would want to find out. So, you have the flyer. So, if you look at the very first line, this tells you that young dramatist, it is the name of the group which is presenting this play. What is the name of the play? That is usually in the biggest font size, Life of Galileo. So, you have now found out two things. The play is Life of Galileo, it is being staged by a group called Young Dramatists. The next details you would want to find out when and where. So, usually you will find it under the name of the play, the program, 17th, 18th, 19th December here, and time 2:30 to 6:30 and the place is here. This formatting feature draws your attention to added attractions, and you will find that photo gallery of earlier performances, then CDs, these are the added attractions here. So, now you think this you should go and watch the play. So, you want to find out how you can get the tickets. So, now the keyword will be tickets. So, you find the keyword here tickets. So, tickets available online. So, online is a keyword here, and then it also gives the details of the website. So, this is how when we have a text, we look for specific information. So, note here again, your goal is not to read it completely for a detailed understanding. You have a flyer and you just want to find out what, where, when and how I can buy tickets. Here there are other details, for example, about sponsors and all. Usually we are not very much interested in this piece of information, and some other details mentioned on the flyer. Okay. Moving on, we now will look at a skimming task. Recall here, when we skim, our idea is to get the main idea of the text, the gist of the text. The extracts here you see are about Venkat Raman, C.V. Raman, a very famous scientist. Let us read the text and try to identify the main idea of each paragraph. I am starting. In the year 1930, the most unexpected thing happened in the world of science. A young Indian researcher, Venkat Raman, won the Nobel Prize for Physics for his groundbreaking discovery of the phenomena called Raman effect. Hailing from Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu, Raman completed his early education in Presidency College, Chennai. Such was his interest in physics. His father had been a physics teacher that, despite clearing the civil service competitive exam and becoming the Deputy Accountant General in Calcutta, he still found the time to pursue scientific research at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Sciences. In 1917, he finally gave up his administrative position to become a professor of physics at Calcutta University. So, what are the key words in this particular paragraph? So, you know the year 1930, what happened? Young Indian researcher, this is a key word. Which young Indian researcher is this about? This is about Venkat Raman. What happened in the year 1930? He won Nobel Prize for Physics. So, Nobel Prize for Physics is again key phrase for us. For what? A phenomenon called Raman effect. Then you find the word Tiruchirappalli. This is the place where he was born. Then Presidency College, he completed his early education. Then you find the word civil service competitive exam. So, what is it about? He had cleared it and he had become Deputy Accountant General in some other place. Then Another important term you find here is Indian Association for the Cultivation of Sciences. How is it related to C.V. Raman? He was pursuing scientific research there, though he had been working in Calcutta as a Deputy Accountant General. Again you find the year 1917. So, what happened? He gave up his administrative position and became a professor of physics. So, if you have to sum up the main idea of this paragraph, how would you do it? There are three options here. Let us look at the options. Sir C.V. Raman gave up his administrative career for physics. Sir C.V. Raman won a Nobel Prize in Physics in the year 1930. Sir C.V. Raman was born in Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. So, here you will clearly see that Sir C.V. Raman won. This is the main idea we would want to focus on. I will come to the second paragraph. By the time he embarked on his first trip overseas to London as a delegate at the University's Congress in 1921, leading physicists of the time like J.J. Thomson and Lord Rutherford were already acquainted with Raman's significant study in the field of optics and acoustics. Raman had studied classical percussion instruments like tabla and the mridangam, more specifically the mathematical relationships that produced the pleasing effects of the sounds. So, what is the main idea of this particular paragraph? Is it 1. Raman's significant work on classical percussion instruments was well known to the major physicists of the time like Lord Rutherford and J.J. Thomson. In the year 1921, Raman made his first trip abroad as a delegate for the university's Congress. J.J. Thomson and Lord Rutherford were the leading physicists of the day. These two names are mentioned, of course, but recall the text is about Sir C.V. Raman. So, what is the connection? So, that is missing here. In the year 1921, Raman made his first trip abroad. Yes, this talks about his first trip overseas, but is that a very important thing here? So, what happened then? So, A is the most appropriate option which captures the essence of paragraph 2 in the best possible way. So, Raman's significant work on classical percussion instruments was well known to the major physicists of the time like Lord Rutherford and J.J. Thomson. It tells us about that fame C.V. Raman had already got even before he made his first trip abroad. So, summing up, we looked at two important aspects of reading for quick understanding and then reading for specific information. When you are reading for quick understanding, you quickly go through the text you have, focusing on keywords, headings, subheadings, just to get a general understanding. So, what this text is about? Should I spend more time on it? Is it relevant to my task? These are the questions you will be asking. When you read for specific information, on the other hand, you are already clear what you are looking for. You are researching on a particular topic and you want more details about that. So, you use index or contents page, you go looking for those specific details, and you usually skim through when you reach that specific location to get an overall understanding. Sometimes you need to read text for detailed understanding, because you may use that information to critique what has already been done, to add to what has already been done, or you may just want to read to learn. We will look at reading for detailed understanding in the next class. Thank you.